Hi, I'm Zuri of the Boston Globe and Boston.com, and with me is Boston Globe high school sports editor Bob Holmes, and you're watching The Huddle. Our high school football show comes out every week on Tuesday. Now, Bob, we went through this last week, and we got to see the opening of the prep season, but we also got to see our number 1 and number 2 teams play in Everett versus St. John's Prep. We're going to go over the highlights, and then we're going to discuss them afterward.
On homecoming day at Everett, the number 1 Crimson Tide hosted number 2 St. John's Prep, and the Globe's top team held the Prep to only 7 points. This after scoring 80 in the first 2 weeks of the season. Jakari Washington, Kenny Collage, and Jalen Felix all had rushing touchdowns for Everett, while St. John's Prep's Alex Moore caught a 9-yard TD pass from Jack Shario. Everett takes the win, 19-7. In Brockton, the Boxers took on the Xaverian Hawks. Brockton quarterback Austin Roberts worked his magic, running for 78 yards and a touchdown, and throwing 2 more touchdowns to Mika Morrell as the Boxers outslugged the Hawks 22-14. Traveling all the way to White Stadium, Martha's Vineyard took on Brighton in the city, giving us a chance to see one of our island teams up close. Brighton's Ricardo Edwards wasn't very welcoming, though. Edwards broke off an 87-yard kickoff return for a touchdown to start the game, and followed it up with a 44-yard TD run. He had 3 touchdowns on the game, but the day belonged to the Vineyard. Quarterback Alec Tattersall threw 4 touchdowns, including 2 to Jamari Thomas, as the Vineyarders beat host Brighton 45-38. In other top games, the prep season opened up in familiar face Jonathan DiBiaso, last year's Division 1A Player of the Year for Everett, was quarterbacking Phillips Exeter. He was 9 of 13 for 127 yards and 3 touchdowns in a 34-13 win against Worcester Academy. Governors Academy, led by defending ISL MVP Tate Zokos, had 170 yards and 4 touchdowns. They beat Thayer 49-43. And lastly, BC High got its first win of the season, a 31-0 drubbing of Dartmouth.
All right, Bob, so those are the highlights. What are your takeaways, I guess, from this week?
My big takeaway from that game is that Gilly D'Souza finally had a huge role in a game doing what we know him to do better, and that is kick the ball. He had an awesome punt in that game that really pinned St. John's Prep back. The kid's talented and can hurt you in multiple ways.
Now, just looking at that specific game, did you think that St. John's Prep had a better chance going into this game, given all the talent that they have on that team?
Absolutely, and they had the game. They could have won. They just had so many chances that, for whatever reason, they just let them slip through their hands.
Okay, now before we go any further, our friends at Element Productions, as well as Metro West Subaru, have a feature profile on St. John's Prep running back Jonathan Thomas. John Meter-Perel has the story.
Thanks very much, Zuri, and welcome back to Metro West Subaru's High School Sports Weekly. Jonathan Thomas of St. John's Prep emerged last year, and he's one of the best running backs in the state. Should have another great year this season. Let's see if he can handle this one.
My name's Johnny Thomas. I'm a junior at St. John's Prep, and I'm the running back. Ever since I was 2, I just fell in love with the game. Team chemistry is big here. Everybody is focused. Everybody has one goal, come out with a ring. Went at Gillette.
John's a junior now, so he came in here as a freshman, and one of the few freshmen ever to come here and play as a freshman. He's a great academic student with all A's. In the off-season, he worked out starting the first day after our season last year. He was there on a mission that he was going to get better than he was a year ago, and he was pretty good last year.
Goals for myself to be a Division I running back.
This year, there's a big light on him. Everybody's looking for him. We're getting calls from Brian Kelly at Notre Dame, Billy O'Brien at Penn State. Those people are out there. They know about him.
When I'm not playing football, I like to write a lot of raps. I really don't have time for rapping right now with the football season. Off season, I might put a little time in.
He knows what his priorities are, and I don't think that's going to change. I mean, he's a great student, and he works as hard as anybody does in the off season. His teammates love him. You give him the ball, and he likes to get north and south with it.
That's going to wrap it up for this week. Be sure to check out MetroWestSubaru.com. We'll be back again next week. Zuri, back to you.
Thanks. Now, that's a good kid, phenomenal talent. Bob, is there anybody else that we should be highlighting for their Week 3 performance?
Well, you mentioned the prep schools earlier, and the prep schools opened up, and we had 2 great performances this week with Tate Jazokos at Governor's Academy. running for, I think, 160 yards, scoring 4 touchdowns in a wild 49-43 win. And also keeping it in Everett, Jonathan DiViazzo, who's at Phillips Exeter, threw 3 touchdown passes and beat old friend DJ Crook in Worcester Academy.
Very nice, very nice. Now, looking ahead, I guess now to week 4, we have another matchup of Globe number 1 and 2 teams in Everett and now Barnstable. The Red Raiders have moved up to the number 2 spot in the Globe Top 20 and Boston.com 100, which you can check on Boston.com. But that's not our game of the week. No offense to the Red Raiders and the Crimson Tide, but we're looking at Needham and Weymouth. Bob, why is that our game of the week this week?
You know, the 1-2 stuff, Everett in the non-league games is like reality television. It makes for good watching, but it's absolutely meaningless.
Yeah.
Weymouth and Needham this week could be, and was last year, for the Bay State Conference Championship. They both go into the game 3-0, and last year this was the game that decided who went to the playoffs.
Yeah, that should be a good one to watch. I know I'll be there, and I hope you guys will check out that game as well as all the others this weekend. You can see the full schedule and lineup on Boston.com. That should do it for us this week. Check us out on Facebook and check us out on Google+, where we're posting all kinds of updates as well as Twitter. I'm Zuri again for the Boston Globe and Boston.com with Bob Holmes, and we'll check you next week.